Hi, and welcome. If you have done the therapy, read the books, done the self development, and you can explain exactly why you people please, but you still do it anyway, this video is for you. Because the problem is not that you lack awareness. The problem is where the pattern actually lives. In this video, I am going to show you why self awareness alone has never been enough to change people pleasing and what actually works. Let's dig in. Before we do, I just want to introduce myself. I am Sarah, and I work with self aware, high functioning women who are stuck in self abandonment patterns, women who know better and still find themselves saying yes when every part of them meant no. I know this pattern intimately because I have lived it. And I have spent years working with hundreds of women who are some of the most self aware, capable, deeply committed people I have ever met. Women who came to me stuck in this loop and finally broke out of it. That's what I want to show you today. This video is about why, and more importantly, what actually changes it. So the first point I want to make is that you know why, so why hasn't it changed? It's frustrating because I see it all the time with the women I work with. They know what it is. They know they people please. They've done all the self-development work. And they know what the fawn response is. If you don't know what the fawn response is, then there is a video I'm linking below that explains it. This is really important to understand this whole pattern. But with this, she knows about her attachment style, right? This person knows she can trace it back to people pleasing, can remember times in her life where she people pleased, trace it back to childhood, knows it comes from family dynamics. She can see the whole pattern kind of unraveling and has a lot of awareness around it. But she learned that keeping others comfortable kept her safe. And when she starts realizing that, then it kind of shakes things up again. But even though she knows this, when somebody comes up to her and says randomly on a Tuesday, "Hey, I really need you to take my dog for the week. It would be a big favor to me," and she wasn't expecting it, she automatically says yes. She doesn't check in. She doesn't quiet her mind. She doesn't see if that's actually what she wants to do. She just says yes without even thinking. It's this knee-jerk reaction. She's in this pattern. And I know this because I've been that woman and I have sat with the resentment afterward. That feeling you get after you say yes when you actually meant no, where it's like this rush of like, why did I do that? How do I get out of it? How am I going to back away from it? Maybe I should do it. I would be a bad person if I didn't. It's this whole loop that you get onto and you feel completely powerless and don't know how to stop it. So here's what I want you to understand. Knowing why you do something and actually being able to change it in the moment are two completely different things. Awareness lives in the thinking mind, but this pattern doesn't live there. And we're going to start talking about that. Then I want to make point number 2. So people pleasing is not a habit. It's a survival response. This is a really big point. Most of the advice out there treats people pleasing like a bad habit. How many of you have said, "Yeah, I'm a people pleaser too," and you just accept it as if it's your identity? Like you just need to practice saying no more often, like confidence is the missing ingredient. But that is not what is actually happening. What we now understand from nervous system research is that people pleasing, what we call the fawn response, is a survival strategy. It's not a personality trait. It's not a character flaw. It's something your nervous system learned to do. So many people think it's just part of their personality, but it's actually, like we said in the last point, it's actually keeping you safe. It's a survival response. So staying agreeable meant that you stayed connected to the people in your life. So I'm going to say that again. Staying agreeable meant that you were able to stay connected to the people in your life. So anticipating what people needed meant you're avoiding conflict or rejection. So your nervous system filed that under "this is how we survive." And it learned that at a very young age. And here's the thing about nervous system patterns. They do not update automatically just because your circumstances have changed. They keep running the same default program even when you no longer need it for survival. So because that is what our nervous systems do, they protect you based on what worked before. What is the path of least resistance? What is the most comfortable pathway? And that is your default pattern. So I see it over and over again with the women I work with, women who have completely transformed their lives externally, new careers, new relationships, new environments, and then their nervous system is still running the same survival script from 20 years ago. Seeing women who do a complete move, revamp of their whole lives, only to watch all of those problems come back, but with different people in a different setting. So the common denominator is you, if you relate to that, and you have the power to change it. That's the good news. But you're running a very old piece of software in a situation that has completely changed. So this is where I want to make point number 3. This is why willpower does not work. This is also why every approach that relies on pushing through or trying harder tends to fail. When you use willpower to try to override people-pleasing response, you are essentially asking your thinking brain to overpower your survival brain. And your survival brain is faster, older, and much more deeply wired. It is going to win almost every time. That is not a failure of effort. That is just neuroscience. I used to think I just needed to be stronger, more disciplined, more committed to my own growth. And I was already doing all of those things and still saying yes when I meant no. So this is why women who are incredibly intelligent, incredibly self-aware, incredibly committed to their own growth still find themselves stuck in these patterns because they have been using the wrong tool for the job. Mindset work alone cannot reach a survival response. Affirmations can't reach it. You can't say something and just expect yourself to believe it. Knowing your attachment style cannot reach it. You need to work at the level where the pattern actually lives. So point number 4, what actually works? So great, Sarah, you told me all this information. Now what actually works? And I'm going to tell you, this is something that I've seen with hundreds of women I've worked with. And the research on nervous system change and my own experience, both personally and with clients, shows that the patterns are stored at the body level. So what happens is I really believe and see through my clients that emotions are stored in the body, patterns are stored in the body. And I feel that we need to interrupt the patterns at the body level. So this means learning to recognize the actual physical signals your body is sending in the moment right before the pattern activates. This is really hard, and it's going to force you to become more aware of your body. And a lot of people are not aware of their body. They don't understand their body signals. But what happens is that when you can do this, because your body is going, when you hear like, can you look after my dog next week for the whole week? I really need you. Your body is going to send a signal before your brain can react. Your body's going to talk first. And if you can get quicker at listening to what your body says, you're going to allow yourself what I call the pause, which is then going to help you to reset and be able to respond in a way that is going to feel good for you, where you won't have regret. So those are early warning signs when your body's talking. Your body will actually tell you before your mind does. And what's interesting is your mind will actually convince you that it's okay to go to the default programming because that's what it's used to and that's what it's comfortable with. So it kind of tricks you. And this is where it's really difficult. And I work with clients heavily on this, where we have to, the pattern that's in the brain of that default pattern is so comfortable and so wired, and we're creating a new pathway. And so we have to keep allowing the mind to go back to that new pathway and make that the default. And so in my work, I call this the redirect, and it is a 3-step process that happens in real time in the body before the automatic response takes over, and it's a learnable skill. I have watched women who have been stuck in these patterns for decades start to change them, not because they finally tried hard enough, but because they finally started working at the right level with the right tools. And if that's something that you want to try and you feel like I really need that kind of help, then I'm going to link my course down below, the mini course that's going to walk you through these steps. But what I want you to take away today from this is that change is possible. Not through more awareness, not through willpower, but through working with your nervous system instead of against it. So even if you know you're a people pleaser and you're identifying with that characteristic, knowing that it's not a characteristic, it's a survival response, and that it actually starts because it's a survival response, your body's going to speak to you first. So the first step I want you to take in understanding which specific survival pattern is most active for you, because people pleasing is a pattern that's actually one of 6 self-abandonment patterns. And for a lot of high-functioning women, it is not even the obvious people-pleasing. It's something more subtle. People-pleasing is one of the biggest I think it's the biggest buzzword and something that we recognize, but there's 5 others actually that might be driving what's happening for you. That might be your primary pattern. So I created a free quiz called the Self-Abandonment Pattern Decoder, and it takes you through 3 minutes. It takes about 3 minutes and it's free, and it will show you exactly which pattern is most active in your life right now. And you'll see it gives different categories for how it's affecting your life. And so if this video resonated with you, share it with a woman in your life who you think needs to hear this. Please spread the love, share it. I want to help more women because so many women are walking around thinking that they just need to try harder, and they deserve to know the truth, where this is coming from, that people pleasing is not a characteristic. It's survival. You're doing this to survive, and I want to help. So until next time, please remember that you matter too.